Hey, so just before starting this video, I just wanted to say that everything you're going to see in this tutorial may not be the good way to do it. These are just things that I learned through using Blender, so these are maybe not the correct method. So if you have a better method to do it, you can write it in the comments and I'm going to see it. And yeah, so just keep this in mind. And also, as you already noticed it, sorry for the French accent that you're going to hear all along the video.
Hey, welcome in this tutorial where I'm going to show you some tricks and tips to help you build environment with Blender and Megascan, like you can see on these two renders. So, first things we are going to learn is how to import Megascan assets without using the bridge live link between Blender and Megascan. If you have an active Megascan subscription, you can use the live link to import really quickly the asset between both, but you may not have it. So I'm going to show you how to quickly import assets into Blender without this live link. So what I'm doing basically is just I'm going into my library of downloaded assets and I'm choosing one of the assets I want to import, and I just open a folder like this one, for example. I'm copying the location of the asset. I'm checking the file format, FBX. So then I just go in Blender, file, import, FBX, and then above I just paste the location of the assets. And here we go, I choose load 0. And here we have our asset, which is the good size, I guess. So now we're going to create the material for the asset. For work, that's pretty simple. First, let's just open the shader editor. So let's open new window, shadow editor, and there we go. I'm just going to delete the principal and the normal and re-import it to be sure I have all the good settings. Also, another quick tip which is quite useful is to, in the preference, activate the Node Wrangler add-on. This is an add-on already installed in Blender. All you have to do is type Node here and select Node Wrangler. Then you can just save your settings. And then, for example, if you want to display this, you just have to press Ctrl plus Shift, and there we go. It automatically linked. Then what this add-on also do is it's going to automatically set up all my textures in the principal. So what I'm going to do now is just press Ctrl Shift plus T, and then just go into the folder of my asset. And here I'm going to choose the albedo. I'm going to shift click on the normal, worstness, specular if I want to use it. And that's all. Then we just click on principal texture setup. And here we have all our textures already set up for our material. So as it is UV base, I'm just going to delete the mapping here. I don't need this. And everything is perfectly fine. So I have the non-color here and things like that. I just check that metallic 0, and that's fine. And now if I go into render mode, I have my asset which is perfectly working. So now another tip I'm going to show you is how you could improve the quality of the asset. For example, if you want to make kind of close-up on the asset, for example, you want maybe to use it at this distance, or something like that, but you don't have an enough texture quality to get this close. So there is a way to improve that, is to create a normal detail map. So how this works? We're going to blend the two normal maps between them here. So to do that, we're going to use custom node groups. This is quite complicated to do by yourself, so you can just download it. I put the link in the description. So here you can have it. You have also the link of the thread who talk about it if you want to check it. So what I'm going to do now is just import the node group. So I'm going to File, Append. I go to the location of the normal detail.blend file. So here, combine normal map.blend. I click on it. I go into node 3, and then I choose normal map combine. Then append. Here nothing changed because we need to add it, so I'm just going to press Shift A, group, normal map combine, and here we have. So now we can combine two normal maps between them. So what I'm going to do is to get a basic work texture to get a closer look. So for that, I downloaded a basic work texture on Megascan. I'm just going to find it. So here, this one, basic work surface, like this. I'm just going to open folder. Here I'm gonna copy the location, copy it. And then I'm going to duplicate the texture here, and I'm going to paste the location of my normal. I'm just going to choose the normal map. Here, I think to switch the color space from sRGB to non-color. And then I'm just going to blend the two. So here I'm putting the node group here for the base, and this is the detail normal map I'm putting here. So as you can see now, I blend two normal map, but this is not what we want, because here we have a pretty high scale on this normal map, and we want some really fine details. So what I'm going to do is now map this node. So with the node wrangler add-on, I'm just going to press Ctrl plus T, and here it's going to set up for me the mapping node. So then what I'm only going to do is in the scale parameter, by just click and drag at the bottom, select the 3 value, and put a number like maybe 3 to get something really fine, maybe 4. Then I can go back to visualize my principal BSDF, Ctrl plus Shift here. And then we have our normal detail, which is working. As you can see here, we have a much more fine look, which is not highly visible at a high distance, but if we get closer, you can see that we have all the small details on the mesh, which can be really useful. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to import a plant mesh into Blender. So I'm going back to Bridge, and here I'm going to import one of the 3D plant assets. So here I just open the folder, copy the location as usually, go to File, Import, FBX. I paste the location, I go into var1 and choose the load 0. I import it. So here we have our mesh. Now we're going to create the most interesting part, the material. So for the material, I'm just going here to delete everything and add a new principle. I'm going also to rename my material. I'm going to call it props/ plant slash clover. Here we are. Then I'm going again to press Ctrl Shift plus T. I'm going back into my folder. I choose the texture location here. And now I'm going to shift click on albedo, normal, grossness, and I don't need specular. So I import this three. As usually, I can delete all of this because this is not useful. And here we have a really basic material, but we miss a lot of features, like we maybe want the opacity. So we're going to import the opacity texture, and here. So the easiest way to use it is just to plug this one into the alpha channel here and set it to non-color. But as you can see, it changed nothing, because to have your opacity working, you need to precise it into the material. So here I'm going into the material tab, I'm scrolling down and into the settings tab. I'm going to blend mode, and here I'm going to set it to alpha hashed. And now I have my opacity, which is working. So now what I'm going to create is the subsurface and translucent material for the plant to get a much more realistic result. So for this, I could use the subsurface, which is already into the principle, but after some tests, it's not a good solution. I have some issue with it. So what I'm going to do is here, import a new shader, subsurface capturing, and here we go. So for the color, I have two options, or I just use base color, or what I could do is just duplicate this and import the translucent here. But I'm just going to keep the base color to reduce the amount of textures I use. So now I just add a new shader, mix shader. And here, so first problem, as you can see, now my opacity is half working. Yes, because the opacity is linked to the principle. So if I want to add this shader, I will need to create manually the opacity shader. So what I'm going to do is here unplug this, I don't need it. And here I'm going to add another mix shader. By the way, the shortcut for this is Shift A, H, and M. So now I'm going to take my opacity and also import shader transparent. Or I guess like that. Now I just plug the color into the FAC. I check that it's non-color. Okay. Here it just inverted, so I just swap here both of them. And now I have the opacity which work again. Check that you have in blend mode alpha hashed if it's not working. So now I have my subsurface shader, which is working. So first thing, to get a correct result, into the material tab, into settings, it still has the same place, thing to check subsurface translucency here, and then you have also another things to check into the render tab. So here I'm going into render and into the subsurface capturing menu. Here I'm going to check separate albedo, which will give me a much more fine result. So now I'm going back to my material, and here I'm going to select the normal map node and plug it into the subsurface capturing one to finish the setup. So here, if I put only the subsurface, you can see it's working. So I'm just going to quickly create a scene to display this correctly. So here I'm going to create a material for that, just a bit gray like that. Going to move it a bit. Into the render settings, I'm going to enable ambient occlusion, which is really important for all the vegetation, as you can see. Just to increase trace precision. Okay, and now I can go back into my material. So, as we can see here, I'm going to add a light also to see the effect of the subsurface. I'm going to increase it maybe to 50, radius 0.1, and enable contact shadow. So now you can see the difference with subsurface and without. So I'm just going to blend them together, maybe like something like that. Sometimes you may want a different result for the subsurface. Here for the clover it's working pretty nice, but what you can do is also here play with the subsurface scattering parameters, like here the radius and things like that. Basically the radius is what color takes the light when going through the surface. So here we have the RGB values. So here, as you can see, it is more red than is it green or blue. So as it's a plant, I'm maybe going to want this to be greener. And now, can we see the difference? Yes, this. No, it doesn't see a lot of difference for the moment, because maybe I need to increase the scale like this. That's weird. It doesn't look to change a lot of things. Oh no. So I guess that's normal. So I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm going to maybe reduce the scale as before, like 1. Here we are. Oh, no, still the same color. Okay, so here I'm going to leave it to 0.6 maybe to get still some reflection on the clover. What I can do also is maybe play with the specular here. You can see control how much reflection you want of your material, but 0.5 is a good value. So that's all for the plant material for this one. So for the last type of material, we're going to import now mushrooms to use the subsurface, but a different way. So I'm going back to Bridge. Here I have a collection of forest mushroom. So as usually, I open the folder, go to File, Import, FBX, Paste. Here I have all my assets importing. What I'm going to do is just a bit of space here. I'm going to move that. Here that all at the same place. Here is a quick tip to move them all quickly. What I'm going to do is enable proportional editing by pressing O or above here. and then into the settings of it, you're going to choose random. So now if I press G, you can see that the circle appears. It is the radius of it. For the moment, I don't care because all my assets are at the same place. So I'm just pressing G, then X, and I'm going to move them along the X axis like that. And now I'm just going to get the circle a bit bigger and move them along the Y axis. And here we have all of our assets. So for the demonstration, I don't need a lot of them. So I'm just going to here delete, no, not the light, please. All of this. Yeah, I'm going back at the middle with them. And here we have our mushrooms assets. So I'm going to create a new material. I'm going to call it props slash plant slash mushroom red maybe. Then I'm going back to the material editor. And here I'm going to press Ctrl-Shift-T as usually. Going back to the file location. I'm going to use the albedo, the roughness, and the normal. I'm importing them. So as usually, I can delete here the mapping nodes here. What I'm going to do is now share the material for the mushroom. So what I can do here is to select all of the mesh I want the same material as this one, and then select this one in last. It must be yellow. Then I press Ctrl L and then go to material. I forgot to select this one, so same Ctrl L material, and here we have our mushroom material. So I'm just going to move that maybe on the right like that. So now what I'm going to do is enable the subsurface for these assets. So as usually I could here this time we just doesn't have the translucent, so I'm just going to use here the base color into the subsurface color, and then here increase the subsurface like that. I don't forget to check subsurface translucency into the material tab, and then I can maybe play with the subsurface radius to get different color. As you can see here, if I put it back black, in fact I have no difference, but for example like here I want it green, so here I have a green result. But for the mushroom I'm just going to keep it like that, 0, because I mainly want it red. So like that. And now I have some subsurface on my mushroom. I could also choose how much I want. Another issue here is we doesn't have a scale parameter for the subsurface. If you add the basic subsurface scattering material, you can see here I have a scale shader. Normally here I don't need it because everything is on scale. Already have the good scale on my scene. But for I don't know what reason, or maybe just artistic reason, you may want to control the scale of this object. So I also put a link in the description to be able to reproduce the SSS scale shader. So here you have a quick tutorial. This is only some nodes to get the subsurface scale option. So here I'm just going to append it from another file. So file append. I'm going to go to my document. Here I'm going as usually in the tree, and this is this one that I forgot to rename. But here, if I edit Shift A group, not group, here I have my SSS scale option. So here, if I put same settings, 1.0.2.01, I should get same result here. The result is not the same. I don't know why I have the same value here. So maybe the scale is not 1 by default. So here I can just change the scale of the SSS to get different result. Like if I want, I can make something very diffuse like this, which look pretty good. Get something much more sharp. So here you can play with that. So for the next trick, I'm going to show you how to use the Atlas textures from Megascans, because sometimes you going to download a 3D mesh, which is already meshed for you, but here sometimes you just have a basic texture here, and you will need to create the mesh to apply the texture. So as usually, I occupy the location, then I'm going back to Blender. Here I'm just going to add a simple plane like this one. Then I'm going to create the material of the leaves on this one. So I'm going to call it Atlas this time, plant/leaves. Here, Control-Shift-T, I paste the location, and then normal and roughness. Here we have our leaves. Now what I'm going to do is import the opacity map. So here, opacity, color into the alpha. I set it to non-color. Then I can also delete the mapping node. I'm going back to the material tab and set displacement mode to alpha hashed. So here we have our leaves material ready. So now what we're going to do is just split this plane to get the shape of the leaf. So now I'm just going to set the view from top by pressing 7, then going to edit mode, and here I'm going to use the knife tool. So I'm just pressing K, and here I have the knife tool, and I'm going to draw the shape of the leaves on the plane. So I'm going not to use all the leaves here, only a bit of them. So I have maybe this leaf here, which look good. So I'm just going here to draw a very basic shape. As you remember, this is going to be in your scene multiple times, so you have to keep a low number of poly. So here I'm going to do some things like that maybe. Also watching something which is good is always have a vertex at the middle of the mesh. So here later we can trace a line like this and fold the leaf. Yeah, I'm going to do something like that, and here like that. Then I'm just going to draw another leaf. So before validating, you will understand why, because here if I validate like that, it's going to create triangles here, which is kind of of disturbing, because then if I want to here draw the shape, as you can see, I have this line at the middle. So for that, to avoid that, I'm just going here to go to the next sleeve immediately, like maybe this sleeve here. So here, like that. Maybe this one also. And I'm going to validate. So here I have 3 leaves, which are pretty fine. I'm also going maybe to use some of these ones, so maybe going to take this one here. So one vertex at the middle, like that. And then maybe two of old leaves, like this one. And then I need to delete here the edge I don't need, so I just press 2 to get in edge mode. Here, X and dissolve edge. I'm also here going to knife this at the border and delete this one, dissolve edge. Same for this one, X, dissolve edge. Here, can back into vertex mode. I have not, oh, so it deleted here the one of the vertex. So I'm going to do now that. And here is one of the problem you can encounter like this. If now I press G, it's move all my UVs, which is not good. So to avoid that, I'm going to press G 2 times, like GG, and then I can drag the edge along this one. And here I can move it freely on the 3 axes without moving my UVs, like that. So now I have the basic shape. I'm just going to fill it. Like here, I'm going to draw the middle of it. Here, I'm going to split it like two in half. Here, GG also, like that. And doing the same for the other leaves. Oh, here I have also an edge which I don't like. Oh no, that's not the edge, that's just sunlight. So that's good. And now that I have all my leaves ready, I'm just going to delete all of the things. So I'm clicking on 3 to get in face mode. And then I just select all the paths that I don't need. Like that, X and face. I verify that I don't have any more face, and that's good. So now what I'm doing is just selecting everything. I'm pressing P and choose by loose part. And now I have all my leaves which are separated mesh. So what I can do also is select all of this, right click, set origin, origin to geometry, and here I have a correct origin for my leaves. So now that I have my 6 leaves, I'm going to rename it, like this one, leaves leave old. Doing the same for this one, leave old 2. Now I have just like this one, I could call it just leave 2 and leave 3, and this one I'm going to call it Live Young, like that. So I'm going to select all of them. I unselect the sun lamp, and by pressing M I can put them into a new collection. I'm going no. So M, I'm going to choose new collection. I'm going to call it Leaves, and OK. And now on the outliner you can see I have a new collection with all my leaves that I can hide if I want. So that's good. So now what I can do is avoid to have this kind of flat planes. So I'm just going here, going back to edit mode, in vertex mode, and here I can just add some relief by maybe moving that to the top like this, here to the side, something like that. Maybe here I right click and think to set it to smooth. And here we have leaves. So I can also maybe just duplicate this one, and here I can just change if I want like this maybe, and so I have two variation of the same leaf. But I'm not going to do that. So now I have my sleeves which are ready to use, and if you look, these are just basic low poly plane that I can now use with particle system to scatter them on my floor. So in this next trick I'm going to show you how to create a ground for your scene and use different material on the same mesh on it. So for the ground I just created a basic plane like this, which I'm going to subdivide because we are going to need it later. So I'm just going here to add a subdivision surface modifier, check simple to doesn't affect the shape of it, and here increase it maybe to 6, apply, edit mode, and this seems pretty good for our terrain. So then depending on the scale of your scene you could get it bigger or things like that, and then what I'm going to do now is just create a bit of shape on it. But of course, depending on your scene, you're going to create the topology that you want. So here I'm going to enable the proportional editing by pressing O. Then I'm checking that it's in smooth. Here now, if I move a vertex like this, I can create a basic terrain, something like this. So maybe at the middle I want to create a kind of path. So here I'm going to use the circle select. Here select some of the vertex. Then I'm going to move them like this. Maybe also going to scale them by pressing S, then Z, and here again, if I want to scale them to get something a bit more flat like this, and here we have a kind of path. So here, then what I can do is just select all of this and move it maybe like that on the right. Okay, I'm going to smooth my plane also. Here we have a basic terrain. Here I'm maybe going to increase that like this. Okay, so now we have a basic terrain. I can now add the material for it. So this is going to be the base material of it. So you can just choose which one you're going to use depending on your environment. For me, I'm just going to use this one, the forest roots. So as usually, I open the folder here, Control Shift T, I paste this. So I'm selecting albedo, roughness, normal. Oh, yes, I'm going to choose 4K. I'm not going to use the specular. I don't think I need it. And here I'm going to click on Principal Texture Setup. So here I have my material, but as you can see, it don't have the good scale. So this is because it depends on the scale of your plane. So what I'm going to do is I already this time have the mapping node installed. So what I'm going to do is here just by keeping the left click pushed, select 3 of them and maybe put something like 3. So to get an idea, I can just here zoom and look at the size of the pine cones maybe. Here I can compare them here to the scale of the object on the rock. They're still a bit big, so maybe I'm going to use 4. 4 seems pretty good size. Also, something I didn't do before is the scale of my leaves, which are not as good scale for the moment. I don't need to adjust the scale of them. So now I have a basic material for this. What I'm going to do is complex it a bit. So the first thing I'm going to use is the AO map, which is normally you get it for all the surface assets. So I'm going to duplicate and here import the AO map. No, I'm not going to do, I don't want that. So here what I'm going to do is to multiply the AO with the diffuse. That's how you can use the AO in Blender. Just so Shift A, color, and mix RGB. I'm putting it on the base color. And here I'm going to blend it with the AO. So this one is AO. Here I'm going to set the blending mode to multiply. And here I can see that it's not working because I forgot to link it to the mapping node. And now, as you can see, I have an AO, but this is not correct because here I should think to set it to non-color. And now, as you can see, I have the AO, which is working perfectly, and which is really really good because it add a bit of accuracy to your model. So also something that I can do, I think, is maybe reduce the specular here to something like 0.3, I guess. It's something like 0.1. Looks pretty good. So I have my floor, basic floor material. For the moment, we don't need to try to blend it a bit more. We don't care that we can see the repetition here because once you put all the assets on it and various texture, this doesn't matter anymore. So what I'm going to do now is create the path at the middle. So this is not the basic pine material that you can see here. This is maybe rocks, like we have a path made of rocks. So we're going to need to create a new material of rocks for this one. So here I'm just zooming back on my scene. Here I duplicate the principal BSDF above. Here I'm going to press, before I'm just going to look at what texture I want for my cone. So for me, I'm going to use this one, stone. I occupy the location and then Ctrl-Shift-T, I paste. Then I'm choosing albedo, normal, and roughness. principal texture setup. Then here I'm duplicating the base color to get the AO. I'm creating a color mix RGB node. I blend it with the base color using the multiply mode. Here I think to put the vector into the mapping node and set the color space to non-color for the AO. Now I can increase this. What I'm going to do now is press Ctrl Shift to see my principal BSDF here. So as you can see, I have now my work material, which is working. But as usually, it doesn't have the good scale. So here I'm just going to use the same scale as this one. I'm going to select 3 of them and press 4 to get my works. So now what I'm going to do is blend these two. So if I blend them using a mix shader, so Shift A, H, M mix shader, here I'm blending these two. I'm just going to blend one over the other, and this is not what I want. I want to get only the works at the middle. So to do this, we're going to create a mask. To create a mask, we have two solutions. Or we paint it with a texture, as usually, with UVs, but the problem is that it's if your UV change or something like that, this is quite long to modify each time, and you rely on a texture. There is a faster way to do that. This is using vertex painting. So, for that, I'm going to go into vertex paint mode. So I'm just pressing Control Tab and keeping them push, and then I'm going to go at the top to vertex paint. So now I'm in vertex paint mode, and if you just try to draw, nothing happens because we don't have the good color. So I'm going to press right click and then choose black. And so now I'm just going to paint where I want my works path. So I'm just going to start to paint, and as you can see, it's working. I have this who appears, but as you can see, the line look pretty low resolution. So that's because in vertex paint mode, in fact, you're just painting the vertex, which means like this. If I go in edit mode, I'm just setting that all this area is going to be black, all this area going to be black, and so on. So the resolution, the quality of your line depends on the resolution of your mesh. Here, we don't care for the moment, that's just a mask. We don't need small details and small things like that. So I'm just going to paint like a line. I'm going to increase the radius a bit, like this, making some things a bit more straight, like this. Here I have my work path, my mask. So what I'm going to do is go back to object mode, and now I'm going to import this mask into my shader editor. So here I'm going to create to press Shift A, go into input, and then I'm going to use the attribute node. So here I'm importing it, and what I'm going to need is to tell them which mask I want to use, because in fact you can use multiple masks on this kind of assets. You can use create multiple vertex paint. To do that, we're just going to go into the object data menu here by this green triangle. And here I'm just going to go to vertex color. As you can see, we have a color map, which is in fact this one. So here I'm just going to rename it path, like that. And so in the attribute here, I'm going to put path, which means I want to get to extract the path vertex paint. And then I'm just going here to put color into FAC. And here the magic happened. I have my work material only at the middle of it. So now this looks pretty good, but we can still improve it to blend it more with the leaves here. So the first thing to do is, for example, if you look at this mask by pressing Ctrl Shift, you can see, as I said, that's a pretty low resolution lines with this kind of blurred thing, and we can modify this. So first, I'm here just going to select all my work material, and I'm going to press Ctrl G to create a group. And here I can just move it at the top. I'm going to do the same here for the pine. Ctrl G. Here in the panel on the white, I can check color and here choose a color for it. I'm going to choose something like that. And for the works, I maybe choose something more yellow, like this. And then I'm going here to modify the mask. So I'm going first to create a nose texture. So Shift A, texture, nose texture here. If I display my nose color, first it is in RGB. Second, you can see that it's deformed along the deformation of your terrain. This is not something we want. So here I'm just going to go into input and add a texture coordinate node. And I'm going to choose UV, which is going to give it a better look. So now I'm going now to add a color ramp node. So Shift A, converter, color ramp. The shortcut for this is Shift A, N, and then C. So now we have our map in black and white, and we can also modify the contrast of it to get something like that. So what I want is just to blend this with the mask. So I'm going to need something with more detail, and also maybe decrease the size, maybe add more black, something like this. So I want now to blend this with my mask. So I'm going to add Shift A color mixer RGB node. I'm going to display it, Control Shift, and blend it with this one. So the mix node, as you know, it just blends both of them above. This is not something we want. Here we have a good result, but like here on the side, I have still some information. So the mode I'm going to use is a soft light mode. And here, if I increase it, in fact, the soft light put the color 2 only where this is not pure black. Like here, if I look here, I have something which is middle gray, like it's a bit blurred, and so the soft light mode just put the noise where it's a bit blurred, so it means only on the border of our mask. And now we have something which is a bit better. So now what I can do is also add a new Shift A CM. Here, this noise, I can duplicate it like that. Here, I'm just going to change the scale maybe to 12 just to get a different noise. Set it into the mix node. I'm blending both. I display it. And now maybe what I'm going to do is maybe just use the add mode, which is not good. I'm going to click on clamp here to get the good result, and here maybe like this add a bit of variation in the mask. So now we can work with the material to see how it changes. Oh yes, I need to put it in this. So here maybe I want a bit of pine like this. And also what I can do is add a last color ramp node here, color ramp. I'm going to display it And here I'm going to increase the black and increase the white. Something like that maybe. And I'm going to see to get less blend like this on the side. So something like this, which look a bit better. But no, let's say, it's a forest, so the pine like this just doesn't stop here because there is rocks. There is still some pine needles here everywhere, so maybe need to put them. So instead of just modifying this texture by maybe going to Photoshop or maybe QuickStyle Mixer to do this, I'm just going to do it straight in Blender to add some pines, but to add some pines maybe only into the cavities. So to do that, I'm going to use, just need to check something here if it's better to use the AO map or the cavity. Maybe going to use the cavity map like this one. I'm just pressing Alt P to remove it from the group. I can display it. Important thing, I don't forget to plug it into the mapping node here. So I can see here I have the cavities in black and the works in white. So I'm going first to increase the contrast of it by adding color ramp node. Here I increase the black, and important, I increase the white. What I can check also is what if instead of the cavity I use the AO map. So yeah, I get a pretty different result. So for this I'm just going to use the cavity here, and I'm going to blend it with this one. So if I look at the mask, you can see that white is the pine material and black is the rock material. So for us, we want pine on the black. So what I'm going to do, as you can see here, I want pine needles into the cavities which are black. So I'm just going first to invert my material, and now my pine needles are going to be here. So then what I can do is just add a mix node. Here I put it in color 2 and set the blending mode to add, which only add the light values. I don't forget to click on clamp to avoid to have it on the side. And now, as you can see, it hides needles in the middle of the path. So we're just going to look at it. What's the result? And as you can see, now I have pine needles at the middle of our works, which blend both very well. A last step that I can do to increase realism is blend the AO of the works with the AO of the pine. So here is my pine material. I'm going to add a new color multiply node. So here I'm going to set it to, where is my multiply? Mix multiply here. And I'm going to take here the AO of my works. So here I'm taking this and I'm plugging it into the color 2 of my pines. And now if I blend them, you can see I have the AO information of the work which blend between both. But the problem is now that it blends also everywhere, and we want to blend only on these things. So we need to now blend the mask of the path with the AO of the work. So here I'm just going to make a bit of place here I'm going to create another mix node. So I'm mixing it with the AO from the works. And now if I look at it, so just setting it to 0, I need to say that everything which is out of the path had to be white, which is AO. So it means I'm going to blend this mask with this one in add mode. So here I'm taking color 2, like this, and I'm setting this one to add. I don't forget the clamp, add it to 1, and as you can see, now if I reduce this, all the lighting, the AO out of the plane disappear. So I'm letting this to 1. Here, still need a bit of place, like this. Now I can watch here the information, and as you can see, I have the AO of the works only at the middle. Then I can dezoom. Here we go. Maybe just to see, I'm going, instead of mixing the AO here, I'm just going to see what if I mix the cavity. Also, I forgot to set the cavity to non-color. And as you can see, I will need to modify here the mask. So maybe like this, more black. Okay, something like this. Okay, and here we have material which is really good blended, and I'm just going to see what if I take this and I put it into color 1 instead of the AO, just to see. Okay, no, that was not this. This is this one to compare. Yeah, it's black, but no, it doesn't look good. So I'm just going to get the AO again. Don't do that. Keep the AO here in color 1. Okay. So now we have a pretty good path material. But as you can see, we only use here normal. So in case we want to maybe have a camera angle which is pretty close to this, this doesn't look realistic. And furthermore, this is real time. So here we have the texture which are blurred. And this is not something that we want. So to increase the realism, we could use displacement. If you were in Unreal Engine or Unity or something like this, you could just use tessellation to create this, or maybe parallax mapping. But for the moment, parallax mapping is available in Blender if you search for some tutorials on the internet. But otherwise, we're going to need to use classic displacement. So if you maybe look at the shader editor, you can see that here we have a displacement output, but this doesn't work for EEVEE. This is only for cycle. So we are going to need to use modifiers to get our displacement to work. So what I'm going to do is add a new displace. Okay, we don't care about that. I'm going to create a new, and then I'm going to go into the texture tab by clicking on this button. Here I have image or movie, which is the thing we want. I'm going to click to open. I'm going back to my Pine material, and I'm going to choose the displacement. For me, the .xdr texture doesn't work, so I'm going to use the JPEG, but if you could always use your JPEG in XDR or in TIFF. So here I'm going to choose the JPEG. I will get a pretty high displacement result. So I'm going back to the modifier. Here I'm going to set it the texture coordinate to UVs because our material here is all in UVs. Also, I'm going to decrease the size, but as you can see, this doesn't match our texture here. You can see I have a bump pretty not at the good place. This is because here in our shader editor, we set the mapping to 4, and we're going to need to do this for the texture also. So I'm going back to the texture tab by clicking here, or just by clicking on this logo here. And then into image, I'm going to open mapping, and here in repeat X and Y, I'm going to choose 4, which is the same values as we use here. And now, as you can see, I have my displacement where my, for example, branch are. But as you can see, this is a pretty low resolution displacement because the displacement use the vertex and just move the vertex of your mesh. So we need a more vertex density. So for that, I'm just going to use a subdivision surface modifier. So here this look way better, but that's just an impression because we need to put it before the displacement to get the correct result. So here I'm going to keep Catmull Clark and just set it viewport to 2. And here we have now a pretty good result, but this is still too strange. So just going here to maybe set it to maybe 4, something like this. But if I increase the quality of it, doesn't change much thing. Okay, so now I have my displacement, which is working with a better resolution. What I can do is also add a last subdivision surface modifier after, and now, as you can see, I have pretty clean displacement. Here I think to put render to 1 also to get the same as the viewport, and here maybe I can increase it to 6, something like this. And here we have a better material, but as you can maybe see it, your viewport performance are a bit worse because we have now a high number of polygons. If I go in wireframe mode, as you can see, I have pretty high numbers of polygons for the ground. So you have to be careful with that. What you can do is basically you can just, for example, hide this subdivision surface here, and it's going to hide it in the viewport. But when you hit the render, as this logo is enabled, you're going to have this result in the render, but not in the viewport, and you gain some performance. You can also maybe do that for the first subdivision. Here, I'm going to hide it. So the displacement looks pretty bad, but we don't care for the moment because in the final render, we're going to have both of this subdivision, and it's going to look good. But here I'm going to keep the first one. And the things is now that we have our subdivision, your displacement everywhere, and even here at the middle of this, which is maybe not what we want. So what we can do is use now weight painting to remove the displacement at the middle. So weight painting is like the vertex painting. You're going to paint on the vertex, so it depends on the resolution of your mesh. But you can paint different level of strength. For example, here I'm going to show you. So I just press Ctrl Tab and I go in weight paint. So all the mesh look blue because blue is the neutral color. Then here, if I press right click, I can see I have only weight parameters. And here I can, for example, only draw the shape of my path. As you can see, it's pretty laggy because I have the subdivision enabled. If I just remove it, it's now pretty smooth. So I'm going to press Ctrl Z just to remove both of them. I'm going to press Ctrl Z again. Okay, now I'm going to just paint the path. So hide the subdivision surface. I'm going here. Okay, something like that. Then I go back to object mode, and then in the displace, so I re-enable the subdivision surface, and then into displace here in vertex group, I can select my group. But as you can see, it's now put only the displacement at the middle because we need to invert it. So I'm going back to weight paint mode here, and then into weight, I'm just going to choose invert here. I'm going back to object mode, and as you can see now, our displace is working everywhere but not on the path. So in fact, we can now use this method to create the displacement, but only for the works at the middle. So what I'm going to do is now add a new displace modifier. I'm clicking before the subdivision. Here I'm clicking on new, going back to the texture. And this is for the displace C1, so that doesn't matter, we can change here. I'm going back to work. Here I'm choosing my displacement. In mapping I have 4, I check my work material above. If it is yes, I choose 4, so that's good. Then I can go back here in the modifier tab. I'm going to lower the strength of it, so 0.04 maybe. As you can see, this is a bit too strange again, so I'm maybe going to lower to 0.03, which look pretty good. I don't forget to set it to UV, like this. And now the problem is that I want to have it on the path as usually. So instead of just painting again a new weight paint, what I'm going to do is duplicate the current one and invert it. So for that, this is the same as vertex painting. I'm going into object data here. And as you can see, in vertex group, you have a group, which is our weight paint that we just created. I can rename it so path again. I can even rename it path displace, because this one is to use for the displace for the moment. So if I go back to here, I will need to change to path displace here. And now in vertex group here, I'm just going to copy vertex groups here, and it's going to duplicate it. And now if I go into weight paint here, I still have the same mask. I can click on invert, and now I have only the middle. And as you can see, if I switch between two, I'm going to have the different mask. So here I can go back in object mode. I'm going into the modifier tab, and in vertex group here I'm choosing the copy. And now I only have my displacement at the middle. Also, yes, this could be much simpler if we only have here an invert parameter for the vertex groups. just have to have one weight group and just invert it each time. This could be way more simple, but this is not the case for the moment. Oh, why I have a weird artifact here. I don't know why. No, I have a hole in my mesh. So here we have two displacement. I can also display the last one to see what it's look like. As you can see now, I have pretty good terrain ground with two material blended with each other. And here, if I really want some resolution, what I can do is here in the subdivision parameters, here maybe increase to 3. It's going to take some time. As you can see, I get much more information for the displacement, but the viewport is very laggy. So I can just keep it to 2 and only put 3 for the final render, like this. And now we have ground material. Some things that I can do also maybe is now add some of the branch at the middle of the floor. As you can see here, I have a branch, but it didn't display it. So I'm going to try to put it into the mask at the middle here. So I'm moving this with that, like this. And here I'm going to use the AO from the branch. So what I'm going to do is here create a color ramp, put the AO from the bind material. Here I'm going to display it. As you can see, this is like that. So here I'm going to increase a lot the black and maybe a bit the white. And here, as you can see, I get mainly the branch and small details. And what I can do is now mix it with my mask, as usually. Here, add mode, clamp 1. And now, if I look, I have now my branch which are correctly displayed. What does it look like in this mode? Oh yes, you can get a bit of them working. Maybe I'm going to use the soft light for this one just to see, like soft light. What does it look if I remove it? Yeah, in fact, that's worked pretty well because we get a sharper result. This is more sharp. I'm going to leave it like this. Yeah, seems pretty good to me. Okay. So, and here we have our final ground material. Know that I have a base for my project. I have all my assets imported, let's say. I have my ground correctly. I have my blocking of my scene. I may want now start to scatter some assets I imported. So, for example, we're going to use the leaves here, the leaves that we created before in Atlas. We have 6 mesh. The traditional method would consist to simply duplicate them and put them manually on the floor like this, but it just could take an eternity to do that. So for that, we're going to use the Blender particle system to scatter the assets on the plane. So what I'm going to do is select the plane and go into the particle tab, which is this icon. As you can see, there is nothing, and I'm going to create the particle system by clicking on the plus. I'm clicking on it. Also, what I'm going to do is remove the subdivision surface here to increase my performance. And also, I'm going to delete this light here. So I select my plane. I check that I'm in particle system. Also, I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call leaves skater, for example. So first thing to do is switch from emitter to hair. We're going to want to have my particle fixed. We don't need that they move or they emit from something. I'm just going here for the air length to get it to 1 meter. And that's it. So for the moment, that's just hair, as it is whited, and we don't want hair. We want the leaves that are here. So what I'm going to do is go into render here, and into render as I'm going to switch to collection. So this is why also this is really important to keep your outliner clean and make collection. Here I have my collection leaves with all my leaves in, and I'm going to choose instance collection leaves. And here I have now my leaves which are scattered. What I'm going to do also is choose pick random here, and check also object rotation. I'm going to show you why after. For the moment we can't see anything because in fact the leaves are really small. As you can see here we have 0.05 of scale, so I'm going to put something like maybe 0.2. okay, just maybe 1. So no, 1, the leaves are a bit too big if you compare them, for example, to the leaves here or on this mesh. So I'm maybe going to put 0.5, 0.4. Seems pretty good. What you could also do is, of course, use the scale randomness to add more variety to the scale. As you can see, if I increase it, I have more small leaves. So here I'm going to keep it to 0.2. And now what I need to fix is the rotation of the leaves. As you can see, they are not in the good way. So why I check object rotation here is just because here I'm going to rotate these leaves and to rotate this one. So here I'm going to press R and then choose an axis. So I'm going to try on Y, and then I'm going to type 90. And as you can see, 90 degrees on the y-axis put them in apparently the good orientation. Oh, another problem now is, as you can see, some of them are clipped into the ground. To fix this, in fact, we're going to need to tell the software to make them appear a bit above it. So the solution is here to move the origin of the leaves. In fact, the leaves are generated from their origin here. So here I'm just going to put them back into this rotation. And now what I'm going to do is move the origin of these leaves. So for this one, as you can see, the origin is above. So in fact, when she appears, it's nearly all in the floor. So what I'm going to do here is move its origin. So for that, I'm going to press Shift S and move the cursor to this one. So now I have the 3D cursor on this. And now what I'm going to do is open the N tab, and into View here, 3D cursor, I'm going to move the Z axis. By pressing Shift, I can get a more accurate movement. So here I'm going to see from face and move it a bit let's say here seems a good things. So now I'm gonna just right click on the leaf, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. And now my leaf has its origin under it. And we're going to do this for all the leaves. So for example, this one, I'm pressing Shift S, cursor to active. And then I move the cursor a bit down, set origin, 3D cursor, and so on. Here it's a bit too much, so maybe 0.1, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. This one is nearly flat, so I'm just going to move it really not so much, like maybe 0.5, like that. No, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. I'm also going to move it a bit. And here I'm going to rotate them back as they were before, Y 90, and let's see if it's work. So it seems to work for some leaves, but I have still some leaves like this one which are clipped inside. So I'm just going to check which one is it. So I can just rotate this one, and so that this one, so this is good, and me, I want this one, so maybe this one. Yeah, this is this one which has not a good origin. So here I'm going back to this, Shift S cursor to active, and here I'm going to move on the X-axis like this, cursor, origin to 3D cursor, and now all good. My leaves are above the ground. So now what I'm going to do, as you can see, they are all in the same direction. I'm going to rotate them a bit. So I'm going back into the particle system, and here I'm going to check advanced. In advanced, I have now a menu called rotation. I'm going to check. And then here in phase, I'm going to increase it to 1 and randomize to 1 also. And now all my leaves have a different rotation. Another things you can touch is here in velocity, choose the randomize parameter to add even more variety, but be careful because if you increase it, as you can see, also it seems to change. It seems to change the original rotation of them. You can see it's moved them on all the axes. So if you put them too big like this one, you will start to have bigger leaves and they start clipping into the ground. So you have to maybe put only a small value, like maybe 0.1. Or maybe just nothing, because that's already pretty good. So we have our leaves scattered on your ground. What we can do also is maybe increase their number. Like if I want, maybe I want way more leaves, so I can put 12,000. So another very cool feature of the particle system is children's. In fact, you could just, if you want more leaves, to increase here the number, but it's still going to be scattered randomly around the place. Maybe like for some clovers like this, we want to get more like small groups of clover here and here. What I'm going to do is go back to a lower number, like 1000, And here in children, I'm going to check interpolated. And what it does is it's duplicate the leaves that are already existing. Like this one, it's going to duplicate around it, like interpolated. As you can see, you have way much more leaves. Also, things here to really change the display and render amount. Like here, I want 10. I want to have the same amount, and here maybe I want maybe want less leaves, so I'm going to put 5. And no, here I'm going to keep it like this one. I just need to find this parameter. Here, I guess in roughness you could use the randomize parameter to move them a bit. So maybe 0.01. Yes, as you can see, to add a bit of variety to it. I also need to find I can't find okay, so now I have a more realistic way to scatter my leaves like that. So now maybe what I want is only have the leaves at one place. Like I maybe don't want them all around the plane, because maybe I have only like maybe all this only this area which is visible at the camera, so I maybe don't want them all around here. So what I'm going to use again to create this leaves area is weight painting. So I'm going now to weight painting, and as you can see, I still have my path. So I'm going to object data, and here I'm going to create a new vertex group. I'm going to call it leaves, and here I'm going to paint just where I want the leaves to be. So maybe I want them like here. Did I turn the subdivision? Yes, just need to turn this one off also. So maybe I want them something like this place. So now I can go back in object mode, and now I'm going to my particle system, and here I'm going at the bottom, and in vertex groups here, I'm going into density and going to put the leaves density group. As you can see now, all my leaves are only where I paint my weight group, like this. And this method can work with anything. Like for example, you want to put works on your path, so you create multiple works, you put them in a collection like this one, and then you can scatter them on this path. This works also for Clover if you want, and all of these things. Another last feature in the particle system which can be useful is here into the render option, the use count. Because here what it does, it just pick randomly one of these leaves. But maybe you want to get like maybe more young leaf and less of the others. So what I can do here is check use count, and leave young I could just put, for example, 2. And here I'm going to have way much more young leaves. Here, if I put maybe count 6, I'm going to have a lot of young leaves. And here, maybe I can put 3. I'm going to have a lot of leaf old and young, and much less of the classic leaves. So it's up to you if you want to use this feature.